Hi, my name is Jason Leahy, Executive Director of the Illinois Principals Association. Thanks for joining me for this IPA talk. Grateful to have with me Dr. Angie Codron, who is the 2025-2026 IPA President, just getting started with that. Also the Principal of Normal West Community High School in Normal. So Angie, welcome to this IPA talk. Welcome to your presidency, all that good stuff.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yes, I appreciate it. Very excited about it.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So Angie, usually with these IPA talks, talking with the president at the beginning of the term, want to get to know a little bit about you and also your thoughts here for the year ahead, all of that good stuff. But just a real early, quick softball question. Of course, there are no gotchas in any of this stuff. But if you wouldn't mind just sharing a little bit about your background, it'd be great.
Yeah.
A little bit about you.
Yeah, I can sure do that. So I'll just share a little bit about starting in college. I went to Eastern Illinois University. I majored in chemistry there, and so I was a science teacher, came out as a science teacher. I also played basketball there. Tore my ACL, so I got an extra year, which was good. So I came out of there as well with the extra time needing some classes. So I graduated with my master's in athletic administration. Mm-hmm. So I started with that and then got hired at a couple different schools. One was up north, St. Charles North High School, and then quickly found that maybe Central Illinois was going to be the place for me, and found a job at Tremont.
Yeah, that's right.
You know Tremont well.
I do. I was a former chemistry and physics teacher there. So
I know, and so I think, we're kindred spirits, and I think that was the position that I took, was when you had
that could have very well
left.
Been. Yep.
And then went to Pekin High School, and then eventually found my way to Normal West High School. So I was a science teacher and basketball coach for a lot of years, and then felt like that was pretty systematic, knowing what the kids are going to say, what they're going to do before they do it, having your science kits all ready, sending stuff to production, having a high-functioning PLC. And so then I was kind of like, what's next? And that's when the move to administration happened. So that's been 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And then I've been at Normal West for 20 years.
Yeah.
This is my 25th year in education.
Yep.
And then this is my 3rd year as principal, but my 10th year as an administrator.
Yeah. So Angie, you've been in school leadership a bit now, but I'm just curious if you could kind of reflect back on, what is it that drew you in to the leadership component specifically and wanting to do that? Did you feel like, as soon as you got into education, that was going to be it, or was there something that happened along the way? What was it that drew you in?
I think it was just leadership in general. What I say is, I think about leadership at an unhealthy level, probably.
You mean like all the time?
Like all the time.
Yeah.
And so whatever I'm in, it was always about leadership. So I don't know if it was specifically, getting to be a principal, but it was always about what's next for leadership. And so I think that just stems from being an athlete.
Yeah.
And having
and
an
coach and all of those
athletic background, and like just wanting something bigger than just yourself and being a part of a team. And so it was always just about looking for those next leadership opportunities. And so I think when you feel like you've led what you can in a position that you're in, then it's time to look for that next step. And a piece of that is just always being prepared for that next step, which is just part of some of the leadership thinking that I do when I think about it often.
You bet, absolutely. Well, and of course, IPA has been and will continue to benefit from you thinking about those things all the time. We'll talk about a little bit of that in a moment. But just curious, then let's talk about the organization you're leading right now, Normal West Community. So you mind talking a little bit about the high school there at Normal?
Yeah, I can talk about it. Normal West, we're in Normal, Illinois.
Right.
We're in a large unit district in Central Illinois. We're a 2 high school district. And so Normal West is right around 1,500 students, about 190 staff members. And so, I've been at Normal West for 20 years, and I don't know if my car would know how to drive somewhere else. I love Normal West, so I hope that those I serve know that and feel that, like whether that's, students, families, staff, others in the district. But that's where I'm at currently.
Now I have some additional questions as a follow-up here.
I bet you do.
Before getting into that specifically though, what's interesting about the Bloomington Normal Community is, not only do you have the 2 high schools, between Normal West and Normal Community here, but you also have Bloomington High School, which is close by. And so I know that between the two normal schools and Bloomington, that creates some interesting dynamics with athletics and some other things. You probably pick up where I'm going here. But your son that just graduated was quarterback for Bloomington High School, because that's where he went to school.
Yep.
And so I know that was rather a unique dynamic for you as the principal at Normal West, and then having to go play Bloomington High School. Your son's a quarterback there.
Yep.
Actually played against one of my sons who went to school at Glenwood, so that was a lot of fun. But just kind of curious about that familial dynamic there with him and how that went.
I think he's very happy that his mom is not the principal at Bloomington High School.
So if he had to pick, it would be that, right? So if there was going to be, all right, I can relate to that, because my dad was my principal. But I feel like,
there was a little bit of news coverage about that when we were playing them, and I know, Bloomington football was out to, prove themselves, and I feel like they did this year, and I'm glad that he was the leader, on the team. I think that some of that wanting to be in control and what position do you play, right? Like the quarterback seems to have a lot of
come
control
pretty naturally
and
to him for that, right?
yeah, and I think like you have a teenage son and he's on the news and they're asking him about his mom. I don't think that's like what he enjoys talking about, but I do think, he did give a nice compliment and said I was his ride or die. So I feel like I'm going to take that for the win. And he's decided not to play athletics in college, but it was never about that. So, it was about leadership and finding something to lead. So he is actually right now, as we speak, in Golden Apple virtual training. This is day 2. And so he's going to lead through that organization and what they have to offer.
That's terrific.
There is a fly in my face.
I know. Sorry about that. We'll just work through that. We'll power through that here with this. But so coming back to Normal West, let's get into specific things that you've got going on right now to work to move that school forward, and then maybe some of the processes that you have in place to make that happen.
I will. I would love to talk about that. And so something I think about as the leader of a large high school is that we can't be in every meeting, but we can sure help implement what we expect within the structure of the teams that do meet. And so I really have enjoyed getting together a team structure that's the expectation. And so I think it's very evident that we do this as a bottom-up embedded approach. And so we use and so we've created a team triangle. Teams take that survey and have been taking that for about 5 years. So they know exactly how they're functioning at each level in that triangle. And what I found is beneficial is the base of that triangle is about trusting one another. And I think giving teams permission to work on that in their relationships gets a higher achievement for students and those we serve. I think oftentimes as leaders, we jump right to that goal setting and expect people to be able to be collaborative in nature, engage in unfiltered conflict in a productive way, commit to action, right? Hold each other accountable, and then get to that achievement. And so we're really fortunate that this is something that I feel like teams have seen success in, and then they're able to share with others like, well, this is how I'm doing this within my team or my department. And then we've tied that to our school improvement planning and the structure that goes there. And so we've also done an embedded bottom-up approach to that. And so I think it's really hard at the high school. While math is great and math is important, I don't know that it's important to every department, at the high school with all the different types of departments that we have now with MTSS, paraprofessionals, and all of that. So what we've done is we've got about 6 different focus groups for our school improvement planning, and people can pick their passion, so to speak, to be able to implement that and take and try things. And then our professional development is also tied to that. It's a pretty special model. Yeah,
that's terrific. Love the alignment and the connectivity of all of it. I've got a lot of questions. We won't have time for all of them, but the one I do want to drill down on just a bit is you mentioned conflict. Obviously, that is one of the more difficult things that leaders have to work through, and how to have difficult conversations and all of that. So I'm just kind of curious, within your team structure, how do you manage that, and how do you deal with working through those things together?
Yeah, there's two ways I would say that we manage that. One is that the teams, as part of our professional development that we do, have embedded habits. And so they've picked habits. The team have to engage in unfiltered conflict. What have we agreed to?
Yeah.
And so what does that look like?
So like norms, so to speak, or whatever?
Norms, but we call them habits at West.
I like that language better.
Norms feel like something done to you that are like no snacks at the meeting or, things like that. Whereas this is more like we're going to talk straight because we know it's best for students that we serve and what our school needs. And so agreeing to that. So first thing I do is I go back to that habits document. So typically it's building chairs that I might work with for a department leadership position. And we work together on how to lead, and we go back to what we've agreed on. And so it's easy when we go back to what we've all agreed on and put together. The second thing that I do is I often self-talk, and I say, when I go into a difficult conversation like this is for the good of the team.
Yeah.
And then I think the longer that you've become in administration and moving up in leadership, those are always difficult, but at some level, there's a little bit of immunity that you're like, this is for the good of the team.
Yeah.
Like, this is what needs to be said, or this is what needs to be done. So I always do a little self-talk. That's my second.
So what you're talking about is
strategy.
Encouraging yourself to do it. Well, what I love about that is that, sometimes one of the things I've heard about people being able and willing to do something hard is when they think about who they're doing it for and advocating for. Whether it's, and usually it's another person, if it's someone in your family or an organization or whatever that might be. And what I love about how you're framing up the self-talk is that I need to do the hard thing here because this is what the team needs from me as the leader to be willing to do
at this time with the information I have, and they need the best decision that I can make.
Yeah. Well, and I would say too, because you have done the work in advance of setting expectations and setting those habits into place, that gives you something to anchor your conversations to, and hopefully make some of that a little bit easier.
Yeah, it also helps bringing on new staff. And so, as you know, like hiring has become like the NIL transfer portal collective.
Well,
like
free agencies, what I talk about, in education. Absolutely.
We want you here. Like, this is what, you can get here at our school, and this is, that kind of a piece, but it's also helpful in onboarding because the system and the things in place are already established. And so what we found is that it's easier to welcome new people to something like that. That's a structure that's really strong, that's already in place. And they tend to catch up quicker to what the culture is, and then figure out if this is ultimately right. They get to decide anymore, is this the culture that I want to continue to teach in? Because there's a lot of options for people. So I think it's important that our structures are strong, especially with team.
Well, setting those expectations right out of the gate. I've started to say this enough in groups that it's feeling cliche-ish from my part, but some advice that I've heard from my wife over the years that I think is great for any relationship, whether it's a spousal relationship or at the workplace, is that unvoiced expectations lead to frustration. And I believe that is so much the case, and that if we don't have the habits that you talk about with your team or then new employees, whatever, and that's not laid out, and then people do something, if they didn't know that, and then they do something you didn't like, is it fair to them to get after them about it if we haven't been clear right out of the gate?
Yeah, and that's a conversation that we have a lot as leaders. That's probably the number one, right? Is you jump to that accountability level, but have you established trusting behaviors initially, right? And have you committed to something, which is a step before accountability. So when that often comes in my office, I say, that's fine. Just show me what you've all committed to, and I can figure out how to help you move forward next so that we can do what's best for the team. But sometimes what people realize is that they haven't really committed to anything. Like team-wise, globally. And then they go, oh, well, we need to go back to that step, and then we need to work on that. And then we'll come back to you if we need help. And then it's nice because that structure also allows teams to be in different spots when different things happen. So like at some point you might need permission to go back and have people extend trust back to others, permission granted within that structure because they've already established it. What I find is they don't live there as long, that it is more fluid, that we can get back to achievement level And so it gives them permission to go back.
Yeah.
It also gives them some vocabulary with some of the professional development that we spend a lot of time creating common vocabulary, because trust is such a feeling.
Yeah.
And so as soon as you say trust, like these emotions tend to rise. And so by giving it common vocab that we've used here at Normal West, it helps with that transition back to the work.
Yeah, love this, and what a foundation to be working from. So I'm going to pivot us, talk a little bit about IPA. And you've set the theme for this year, understandably, to be teamwork.
Not a surprise,
awesome.
probably,
no,
to
especially
anybody.
especially after this discussion. But if you wouldn't mind, just talking a little bit about that in relationship to what your hopes are here for this year as president of the association, and how it can help us take the organization forward.
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts about that. One, the team focus just comes from, I think, just a core value of mine of just seeing the value of being a part of a team and how that serves.
This fly wants to be a part of the team.
It does
too, right? Yes,
does.
I know.
It does. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the team aspect is just being a core value. I feel like doing things as a team, you get better results than doing things by yourself.
Yeah.
And I think leadership can be isolating anyway. I also think there's great things happening at schools with school teams that needs to be shared.
Yeah.
And so a focus of our conference was getting those teams to come and be a part of the conference and to present the work that they're doing and show how being a team works better.
Yeah.
Than doing things by yourself, and what we can achieve for our students. And so that was kind of the idea of not only my core value kind of coming through with the theme, but also just I think what we do in schools and seeing so many great people contribute to students, not only while they're there, but like just putting that time and investing for what they are when they leave us too.
Yeah.
It's just really special.
Well, we need more and more of those stories to be told all the time, because all too often it's other things that get to be put out there, which is super, super important.
Yeah.
Well, Angie's looking forward to this year ahead, looking forward to your leadership as president and all the things that we can do together as a team throughout this 25-26 school year.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity and for, letting me help lead the organization.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, again, Jason Leahy, Executive Director here at IPA with Dr. Angie Codron, 25-26 IPA President, as well as the Principal at Normal West High School here in Normal, Illinois. I say here because we're actually in Normal right now for our Board Leadership Conference, and we're going to get this year started off right. As always, if there's anything that IPA can do for you, don't hesitate to give us a call, or always check us out on the web at ilprinciples.org. Take care.